How appropriate that this series has covered games that go in a literal perfect downward trajectory of quality. What do I mean by this? Well, episode 1 covered a good game, episode 2 covered a mediocre game, and now in episode 3, we're gonna be covering a bad game. Yeah, this game isn't really good. So, Pokemon.
Okay, you lost. Pokemon is a very low quality franchise.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that. Pokemon is arguably the most consistently consistent franchise ever to exist, to say the least. The Pokemon franchise as a whole isn't terrible, but that doesn't mean it's good. It's truly amazing that Pokemon is the highest selling media franchise of all time, and every single one of its mainline titles are the same damn game. Kid leaves home, catches animals, fights 8 gym leaders with a completely unrealistic difficulty curve, and meets an evil team along the way. Rinse and repeat. If you played one Pokemon game, you pretty much played them all. That's how samey these fucking games are. They don't really try to innovate this series forward by introducing interesting gameplay mechanics or world building. Sure, the modern games try to add some stupid ass gimmick that doesn't really change jack shit to the overall gameplay, but by and large, if you played Red and Blue, you pretty much played Sword and Shield. And then comes Let's Go. Remember what I just said a few seconds ago about the mainline games not adding anything remarkable to the series whatsoever? Yeah, I was kinda lying. Let's Go added something new to the series. It added bad. I champion the idea that there truly is not a bad mainline Pokemon game. That includes even the black sheep of the franchise, Sword and Shield. I personally think the game is just okay. I think Pokemon fans just hate it because they're mad that they can't catch hundreds of fucking Pokemon they're not even gonna fucking use due to the national dex being omitted. But that's a video for another time. Sword and Shield is just another Pokemon game. Nothing inherently awful about it that wasn't already existing problems in the franchise. Honestly, I think its worst offense is how underdeveloped its amazing concepts are, but again, another video for another day. Now, why am I talking about Sword and Shield? I'm talking about Sword and Shield to say why it isn't the awful-esque game Pokemon fans like to say it is, but instead say that the true black sheep of the franchise is Let's Go. At the end of the day though, Sword and Shield is pretty traditional for a Pokemon game, and why wouldn't it be? It's fucking Pokemon. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, however, aren't traditional for a Pokemon game in the worst way imaginable, and I have several points as to why. But first, a tiny little background for this game. So, Pokemon Let's Go is a remake of Pokemon Yellow for the Game Boy, in which case we've already hit our first problem. Number 1, this game is absolutely pointless. To further explain what I mean, let's take a quick crash course through Pokemon history, shall we? In 1996, the original Pokemon games, Red and Blue, were released on the original Game Boy to almost 10 million copies sold between both versions. In Red and Blue, you travel across the Kanto region. Alright, that seems simple and charming enough. Then, in 1999, Pokemon Gold and Silver was released. While it was a whole new original game in the series, there were interesting features added to this one. After exploring the Johto region, the Kanto region for the first game was unlocked. Holy shit, that's honestly fucking awesome. In addition to this brand new Pokemon game, I also get to play the first one with actual cohesion between installments. That's so fucking cool. So, 2 games featuring the Kanto region. I'm pretty cool with that. But then, in 2004, we got remakes of the original titles called Fire Red and Leaf Green. Again, I honestly think this is totally warranted. Red and Blue were motherfucking Game Boy games. With how primitive the graphics and sound were on that thing, it makes total sense for the games to be remade, so that way they could take advantage of newer hardware. It becomes the games they were always destined to be. And Gold and Silver will soon follow suit with their own remix on the DS 5 years later, with the Kanto After Story still being included. So that's 4 whole games featuring the Kanto region, all while being completely warranted. All that matters is that we stop right here. But no, Let's Go happened. Like, bro, this is technically the 5th fucking remake of Gen 1. How many more of these do we fucking need? Seriously, why does Pokemon Company love Gen 1 so much? Even in the newer games. Why do I need to pick from a Gen 1 starter in X and Y? Why does Leon have a fucking Charizard instead of, you know, a fucking Gen 8 Pokemon? Pokemon Company's obsession with Gen 1 is getting so fucking redundant and old at this point that Pokemon in general has been so fucking boring this past decade, and no game in the series exemplifies this more than Let's Go. Yeah, I know it's supposed to be for people who fell out of Pokemon or people who are trying to get into Pokemon, but at that point, why even make this game? Why not just make a new game? Every Pokemon game is the damn same. Sword and Shield isn't that much harder to get into than Red and Blue. These games are for fucking children. Let's Go's core game design doesn't differ that much from the modern games. The only real difference is that it doesn't have those retarded gimmicks like Mega Evolutions or fucking Gigantamax. So someone who never played a Pokemon game can really get into the modern games or older games just as easily as they can get into Let's Go, which makes the game's existence even more pointless. But while on the topic of the game's design, I want to get into my second point. It's too basic. Like I mentioned earlier, this game purely exists for the newcomer fans, and it's supposed to be basic Pokemon, but good lord, this game takes that too far. Starting with how the game looks graphically, it's honestly nothing special. I know Sword and Shield got flack for this too, but not nearly as much people bitched about Let's Go, which I found to be honestly pathetic. This is the first core Pokemon title ever on a home console, and it looks like a fucking 3DS game in HD. I'm sorry, but I feel like the franchise is much more deserving of a better introduction to a home console than this, because like I said before, it's fucking pathetic. Plus, this game's visual design is also nothing special. Just basic generic Pokemon towns. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Even Sword and Shield had its moments of pretty locations. Now you might say, but Losh, this is a remake of a Game Boy game. What more can they possibly make from that? And I will tell you to shut the fuck up, because being a remake of a Game Boy game is not an excuse to be fucking lazy. Look at the Link's Awakening remake. That was also a remake of a Game Boy game and released on the same platform as Let's Go, and it looks gorgeous. Hell, Fire Red and Leaf Green released fucking 15 years before this on the goddamn Game Boy Advance, and it still looks better than Let's Go. So no, being a remake of an original Game Boy game is not an excuse, as you can do so much more than what this game did. The music is also pretty lame here. In my opinion, these remixes of these songs are so much worse than the original. I don't even think I need to explain. I'll just play a side-by-side comparison between the original and the remixes and let you decide which one is better. But whatever, this game's existence is pointless, it's visually underwhelming, and the soundtrack is complete ass. But that doesn't mean this game is bad, right? My points just now were nitpicking and whining. I need to find something that's really wrong with this game, right? And believe me, I have. Number 3, the controls. If you're playing the game docked, this game requires you to play with only one Joy-Con. Why? Like, I know that Let's Go's game design was heavily inspired by Pokemon Go, and thus have familiar elements in its visual and gameplay design to ease the newcomers who might have played Pokemon Go, but having you play with only one Joy-Con to shoehorn in motion controls is stupid. I'll get into the motion controls later, but when you play in handheld mode, you play with regular standard button controls just fine. So obviously this game is programmed with button controls in mind, so why can't I have the option to play with a Pro Controller? Instead, I gotta play with this clunky ass uncomfortable control method that doesn't even feel right in my hand. It feels unnatural. It's not like I'm playing this game on the Wii, where controls like this will make sense because the controller fits comfortably in my hand due to it not being the size of a fucking ant. Actually thinking about it now, this game honestly suits the Wii way better than the Switch. If this game was on the Wii instead of the Switch, it would actually be decent, as it wouldn't have a reason to be the way it is because it's on the Wii. But it's not. And speaking of the Wii, motion controls. boy oh boy does Nintendo sure as hell love those motion controls. While I may not be the biggest fan of motion controls, it's a nice option to have for those who may find enjoyment out of it. But it's so fucking infuriating when Nintendo forces motion controls on games that don't need it, and Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee are the poster child of this epiphany. Why out of all series from Nintendo to implement forced motion controls, why Pokemon? Like sure, using motion controls to throw the Pokeball is I guess a cool idea and concept, but it is god fucking awful in execution. Like the Joy-Con controller never felt responsive to me. Whenever I would throw my arm in the direction of the Pokemon I was trying to catch, Pokeball would often go all over the fucking place. I would often be wasting 5 or more balls just to catch this stupid fucking animal that I don't even want, and it doesn't even capture me in an immersive sense with how basic and uninteresting the backgrounds are. And speaking of catching Pokemon, another thing that really bothers me about this, I can't fight the fucking wild Pokemon. Now, I know for most people when they catch Pokemon, they usually just wing it by throwing the Pokeball hoping for the best. But for those who actually give a shit, they fight the fucking thing to make it easier for them to catch. Do you use a super effective move against it to make his HP drop faster? Do you decrease his HP gradually by using not very effective moves out of fear of killing it using the former method? Regardless, there are many strategies to take when catching Pokemon. Do you think Let's Go did that? Well, if they did, I wouldn't have fucking explained that to you, now would I? Catching Pokemon has become mindless and completely void of any of all substance whatsoever. Sure, my Pokemon still get EXP when I catch a damn thing, but why? I don't feel like I accomplish anything when that happens. I feel patronized like I'm too fucking stupid to know how this mechanic worked in other games. It just feels like a Pokemon company wanted to simplify Pokemon, but instead they just made the Pokemon catching process so damn easy and mindless that even a fucking fetus would find this game too easy. Oh yeah, speaking of easy, number 4. Difficulty? I literally have no incentive to catch any other Pokemon, considering that I can literally body anybody with just Eevee. Pokemon games in general have this shitty difficulty curve because almost every single trainer you fight in the game until the very end only has one Pokemon, so you basically only level up your starter, and because of that, they're a fucking god compared to the rest of your team. But I don't know, something about this game amplified this trait and made it so much worse, especially with the moves that Eevee and Pikachu can learn that can basically fucking one-hit KO your opponent. But whatever, the main game itself is lacking hard even by Pokemon standards. Is there anything else in this game that's worth your time? Well, kinda, I guess. Y'all remember Pokemon Ami from X and Y? That mode which wasn't great but still had its charm, where you can play a bunch of mini games and dress your Pokemon and that sort of thing? Yeah, well, Let's Go sort of has something like that, which leads me to number 5. This called Pokemon Ami. This crap mode in Let's Go is basically a stripped down version of Pokemon Ami. There are no mini games, you can only dress your Pokemon in like 5 outfits, and the only Pokemon you can do this with is either Pikachu or Eevee. This game is $60. 3 out of 10.